So let's look at the hardware components which are inside the CPU cabinet. The first most important hardware component inside the CPU cabinet is motherboard. Of course, we have other components which can be placed on the motherboard and which are there apart from the motherboard. We have SMPS, we have the CPU or microprocessor, we have the memory component RAM, we have another memory component called hard disk, and if needed we can use extension cards like video card, sound card, network card, and so on. So let's talk about motherboard first. So a motherboard looks like this. It is a circuit board, electronic circuit board, which contains so many electronic components. First of all, you can see there are these things like this. Here, this one, and this one. Those things are called slots into which we can place other hardware components. So these big slots, into these slots we will insert the memory component called RAM. So you can see there is 1, 2, 3, 4 slots. So we can insert 4 RAM if we want. And these things are called PCI slots into which we can insert video card, network card, sound cards, and other cards. And these things over here, these things are called heat sinks. So electronic devices produce heat. These things grab the heat and leave them outside. And here, this block, this is where you put the CPU or microprocessor. CPU is actually a small chip, and these things comes to the back side of the CPU case or CPU cabinet. These things are called ports into which you connect other other devices like keyboard, mouse, printer, scanner, etc. And this thing over here, this is called CMOS battery. This CMOS battery provides power to something called ROM, read-only memory. I'll be talking about ROM later. And this one, so cables will come and fit into this. The cables will be coming from a component called SMPS, which is used to supply power to all the components in the computer. So now let's look at the SMPS. So this is the SMPS, and just now I told you this is the cable that goes into motherboard. So you can see it, this one. So SMPS is like the heart of a computer, which is used to supply power to all the components, hardware components in a computer. If you take a human being, and the heart pumps out blood, without which a human can't live. Similarly, in a computer, SMPS can be treated as a heart. Instead of blood, it pumps electricity. And let's move on. And perhaps the most important hardware component inside the CPU cabinet or case is the CPU, or also called processor, or also called microprocessor. So it is a very small chip which contains millions and billions of electronic devices called transistors, and each transistor can either represent 0 or 1. So there are millions or billions of these things. So a collection of transistors contains several zeros or ones, or zeros and ones together, which represents information. I will talk about the zeros and ones later. And the speed of a CPU can be measured either in megahertz, which is millions of instructions per second, or in gigahertz, which is billions of instructions per second. Let's move on. So in the architecture of a computer, I was talking about memory component. So the primary memory which is used in a computer is the RAM, random access memory. So in the image we have 5 RAMs, and RAM is also called short-term memory or also called volatile memory. Why we call it like that means whenever the power goes off, the entire data available in the RAM will be wiped off. That means when the power comes back, you can't access the previous data. So it is a temporary memory or short-term memory or volatile memory. And the units of measurement for RAM is either megabytes or gigabytes, or you have other measurements like terabytes, petabytes, etc. And let's move on. So to store data permanently in a computer, we will use another kind of memory called hard disk, which is where you store movies, music files, etc. So you can access them whenever you want, even if the power goes off. That is why this hard disk is called long-term storage or non-volatile storage. I want to mention one more thing. RAM is called primary memory, whereas hard disk is called secondary memory. So how this distinction means? So if you consider a CPU in a computer and if you consider a RAM, so whatever data is stored in the RAM, CPU can directly access it, whereas if you take hard disk, CPU cannot access hard disk directly. If you want something from hard disk, first of all it must be loaded to RAM and then it will be accessed by CPU. That is why RAM is called primary memory, since CPU can directly access RAM, and hard disk is called secondary memory. So let's continue, and we have the extra cards which we might need if some problem comes. Such cards are called expansion cards. So those expansion cards are inserted into slots called PCI slots, peripheral component interconnect slots. And the cards are called PCI cards. Examples of PCI cards are video card, sound card, network card, or Bluetooth card, or whatever that we need. Let's continue. So here in the image you can see a video card. So these cards are needed for playing high-end graphic games like Far Cry, Battlefield. All these games use high-end graphics. So the normal graphics which are built into the motherboard are not enough to play those games. We need these extra cards. We need to insert these and then play those games. Similarly, we have network cards using which we can access internet. So these two things are network cards.